Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I'm your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. I am beyond excited for today's guest. If you've ever had a cold beverage on a hot summer day, you likely have this man to thank. For those who may somehow not know who you are, who are you?
My name is John Stith Pemberton. Most people know me as the pharmacist and chemist who cooked up a little something in a brass kettle that the world eventually came to know as Coca-Cola.
A literal household name. Let's take it back. When and where were you born?
I was born on July 8th, 1831 in the lovely town of Knoxville, Georgia.
And what was your given name at birth?
Simply John Stith Pemberton.
Is there a story behind your birth name?
Not a grand one, I'm afraid. Stith was a family name on my mother's side. It carried a bit of Southern heritage with it, which we were quite proud of back then.
What was your hometown like growing up?
Knoxville was a quiet, rural community, but we moved to Columbus, Georgia when I was still young. Columbus was much more spirited. It was a bustling trade center on the Chattahoochee River. It was the kind of place where you could feel the energy of progress.
What was your family life like?
It was very traditional. My father, James, and my mother, Martha, provided a solid foundation. We weren't immensely wealthy, but we were respected. I was encouraged to study hard, which suited me just fine because I was a curious soul.
What kind of kid were you?
I was the observant type. While other boys were perhaps getting into mischief in the woods, I was fascinated by the plants growing there. I wanted to know what things were made of and how they worked. I was a bit of a bookworm, I suppose.
What were your biggest fears growing up?
I think my biggest fear was stagnation. The idea of not making something of myself or failing to contribute something useful to society. The world was changing fast, and I didn't want to be left behind.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
I always leaned toward medicine. The idea of being a healer, a quote-unquote medicine man of sorts, but through the lens of science and chemistry, was my true calling.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
I excelled in the sciences, of course. Chemistry was like magic to me. I also enjoyed Latin, which was quite essential for any aspiring pharmacist in those days.
What was your first job?
After I earned my degree from the Reformed Medical College of Georgia at just 19 years old, I opened my own drugstore in Columbus. I was a pharmacist, a chemist, and a businessman all at once.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
It was when I realized I had a nose for blending. I didn't just want to sell pre-made tonics. I wanted to improve them. I had a persistence in the laboratory that many of my peers found a bit obsessive.
What's a decision that changed everything for you but felt small at the time?
Deciding to tinker with a French wine coca nerve tonic. I was looking for a cure for the headaches and nervous afflictions that plagued so many people after the war. I had no idea that removing the alcohol and adding carbonated water would change the course of beverage history.
What was your biggest break?
It was May 8th, 1886. I took a jug of my new syrup down the street to Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta. We mixed it with soda water, and the customers loved it. That first 5-cent glass was the start of everything.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
My health was a constant battle. During the Civil War, I served as a lieutenant colonel and was badly wounded in the Battle of Columbus. The pain from those injuries was something I carried for the rest of my life. And it's actually what drove my research into medicinal tonics.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Not the chemistry. I might have been frustrated by the business side of things, money was often tight, but the laboratory was my sanctuary. I couldn't quit the search for the perfect formula.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
I was a creature of the lab. I believed in constant experimentation. My routine was essentially mix, taste, refine, and repeat. I also kept very meticulous notes. You can't recreate a miracle if you don't know how you got there.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I would have remained a quiet, local pharmacist. I enjoyed the community aspect of the drugstore, talking to neighbors and trying to help them feel better.
What was your life like before fame?
It was busy but localized. I was a family man. I married my wonderful Anne Eliza Clifford Lewis in 1853, and I was very active in the Georgia pharmaceutical circles.
How did relationships change after success?
It became difficult. When you have something people want, everyone becomes a partner or a rival. I ended up selling off parts of my business interests to various partners, including Asa Candler, just to keep things afloat and provide for my family.
Did fame bring happiness?
To be honest, I didn't see the quote-unquote fame of Coca-Cola in my lifetime. It was just starting to catch on when I was at my weakest. My satisfaction came from the invention, not the celebrity.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
The loss of control over my creation. Because I needed money for my medical expenses, I had to sell the rights to the formula piece by piece. It was heartbreaking to watch it leave my hands.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
Some thought I was just a, quote, patent medicine salesman looking to make a quick buck. In reality, I was a trained physician and chemist who truly believed in the medicinal properties of my ingredients.
What was your darkest moment?
The realization that my health was failing, just as my greatest invention was beginning to succeed. It is a bitter pill to swallow when you found the holy grail of beverages, but don't have the strength to lead it.
What personal battles were you fighting privately?
I struggled with an addiction to morphine, which started because of the pain medication I was given for my war wounds. Much of my work on, quote, nerve tonics was a private attempt to find a way to cure myself of that dependency.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My wife, Annie. She stayed by me through the war, the injuries, the financial ups and downs, and my long hours in the lab.
What was life like in your final years?
They were quiet and focused on my family. I spent most of my time in Atlanta, still trying to perfect new formulas even as my strength waned.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was actually trying to perfect a new version of the drink for my son Charlie, hoping he would have a legacy of his own to run.
When and where did you pass away?
I passed away on August 16th, 1888, in Atlanta, Georgia.
What happened?
I succumbed to stomach cancer. I was only 57 years old.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I was a founding member of the first state board of pharmacy in Georgia. I was very serious about regulating the industry to keep people safe.
What was your favorite food?
I had a very southern palate. I was quite fond of a well-prepared fried chicken and fresh garden vegetables.
Did you have any known rivalries?
Not personal ones, but the, quote, soda fountain business was very competitive. Every pharmacist had their own secret syrup they swore was the best.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
During the Battle of Columbus, I was sliced across the chest by a saber. It was a miracle I survived. I often wonder if I hadn't been wounded that day, would I have ever felt the need to invent a tonic to soothe the nerves? Sometimes our greatest trials lead to our greatest triumphs.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Be persistent. Most of my experiments were failures, but I didn't stop. And most importantly, listen to the people. If they like what you've made, you're on the right track.
John, this has been an incredible look into history. Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you've shared that you'd like to share with the listeners before we sign off?
Only that I am so pleased to see that my esteemed beverage is still bringing a bit of refreshment to the world. It's a wonderful thing to know you've left a smile on people's faces long after you're gone. Thank you for having me, Calvin. It's been a delight.
What an absolute legend. From the battlefields of the Civil War to the pharmacies of Atlanta, John Pemberton's journey is one for the books. Thanks for coming on the show, John. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.